Hello and welcome. One more time, you are listening to Juan here with Kevin and Mark, and we like movies. And
Sorry.
on this, what's on the? Wait, did you need to say something?
No, I sneezed. I don't know if you heard it.
Oh no,
Okay.
no, no. That's
It was perfect. It said, "We like movies." Achoo! I was like, "Damn it." Sorry, continue.
cool. Yeah, and we are going to be discussing on this edition Mark's pick out of the blue. He comes out with the 2021 adventure slash drama titled Belle, aka The Dragon and the Freckled Princess. It
Ooh, did not know that.
Yeah, it is a Japanese film directed by Mamoru Hosoda, and yeah, it is the story of a high school student who becomes a globally beloved singer after entering a fantastic virtual world that goes by the name of U. That's just the letter U. She soon embarks on an emotional and epic quest to uncover the identity of a mysterious beast who's on the run from ruthless vigilantes. Um, I will just say, before I turn it over to Mark with his thoughts on the film, that not knowing anything about this film beforehand, um, did not expect it to be a reimagining of Beauty and the Beast. So that was quite the surprise. But
Yes.
more on that later. Mark, take it away.
Well,
Can I add
that's
one
actually
thing before
what.
you start, Mark?
Oh,
Hold on.
everybody's. Yeah, go
Oh
ahead.
boy!
Everybody's
I'm
doing
sorry.
new things now. Go for it.
Yeah.
No, Juan didn't mention it. It's an anime, by the way.
Oh, did I not?
No, you didn't. So that's why I was like, oh, he's not mentioning it's animated.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay. Yeah,
that's all.
thanks for that addition. It is an anime. I just figured since I said it was Japanese, people would assume.
Whoa, we had Drive My Ride or Drive My
I
Ride.
know.
Drive My Car.
Pimp,
Pimp My Ride.
pimp my ride.
My bad.
Sorry, Mark.
So
Go ahead.
actually, that's actually what I was gonna say. This is my favorite version of Beauty and the Beast. Um, I think it was longer than what it needed to be, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't until I realized that this was a rendition of that story that I actually started enjoying it. Before then, I was kind of bored by it.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with your remark about the runtime. I think it definitely could have been cut down to like an hour 30. Would
Hmm.
have been a nice sweet spot. It currently sits at a 2 hour and 2 minute runtime. And while I felt very much the same, as a bolt of excitement ran through my body when I pinned together that this was actually Beauty and the Beast that we were watching.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that definitely perked my ears a little bit. Um, but yeah, but it didn't quite do it for me. I mean, I thought it was a beautiful film, but I felt like it missed a few marks, which I'll go into shortly. But yeah, that's my five.
Alright. Um, Again, it was like I liked it. It's just Beauty and the Beast meets Ready Player One.
Oh,
Um,
you stole my line.
oh, my bad.
You
My bad.
sandbagging son of a gun.
You
Yep.
went before me. You didn't use it.
Well, I was waiting. Later, I was
Oh,
gonna go
sorry,
into that.
I mean,
sorry.
But
but that is a
yes,
perfect way to describe the
but
movie.
yes,
Put it on your
precisely.
bed.
But I like I thought it was like I honestly did think when I saw Belle, I thought it was Beauty and the Beast. I was just interested
Oh,
in how I was gonna tell it.
look at this guy, smart
Um,
guy over here.
I know.
hey, I watched it with my daughters, and they all thought it was Beauty and the Beast too. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it was smart or if I'm just very simplistic and see Belle and think Beauty and the Beast. That's it. I
Well,
thought it was a
to comment on that, when I searched for it on HBO, it literally had another version of Belle, which is Beauty and the Beast. So, I mean, that should have been me putting two and two together. But yeah, yeah.
yeah. I thought it was a simple and cute enough story on the surface, but if you look deeper, it dealt with a lot of other topics like grief, emotional child abuse, addiction, the dangers of creating a life in anonymity, and the fear of losing that cover, and the power of music to help connect people and help in the healing process. My girls absolutely love this movie. We have watched it 4 times now.
Sick.
Can
Uh,
I can I tell you why that statement doesn't surprise me in the least?
Well, my girl. Okay, I'll put a pin in my little writing and go ahead.
Because this movie felt like it was written by a 12-year-old.
My
Okay,
God.
man, I'm glad you had a interject. So here we go. So now they absolutely love this movie. We saw it multiple times, and they even listened to the soundtrack in the morning while getting ready for school, and it helped spur on some conversations about those deeper themes. Like we just sat around, and was like, "Hey, girls, what do you think this was about?" And it was actually really nice. It is very uneven at parts, like you gentlemen have said. I still enjoyed it for like. I think the narrative could have been a little more focused, but I did enjoy it for the deeper themes, and it was a beautiful film. And
Rem-
that's my
Remind me how this and I'm not being condescending here. But like remind me how this dealt with addiction?
Well, it was addiction of being online. Like the people were so afraid
Okay.
of like being found out and stuff. Like they were actually like terrified about and having to go back online. That
Well, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
I thought that was just me.
So,
Yeah, no, I see what he's saying with the addiction
yeah.
thing because it was petrifying to be unveiled.
oh,
Yeah.
And oh, there
yes,
he is.
sorry about that. My
No, go
phone.
ahead.
Yeah, but like how like the biggest fear was that blast and the unveiling. That's what I was saying.
Hmm.
And everyone was just so petrified, and that was the worst thing that could happen. They're like, oh, they're so when she did it, like those people couldn't even believe it because it was just how could you give up that fame and like all that attention?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like they kind of circled around that too much. It felt like to me, I wish they would have um been a little bit more blatant or direct with that metaphor. Just that, I mean, I got it. People were obviously really scared of like being revealed, but like maybe they could have shown someone that had been revealed, or even just talked about about that. The effects of it. Along those lines, one of the things that was disappointing to me was, with that point excluded, I really felt that you was going to be used in a greater way. I thought it was going to be something like more sinister and play a part in the story in that way, as opposed to it. To me, it felt like, okay, it was just the setting of the movie,
Hmm. Hmm.
where I thought maybe they were gonna make a greater point about that, and I guess it just wasn't. Again, that addict, I mean, as we're watching that and you're seeing the effects and how people are impacted by this threat, I guess maybe it's just too upfront to talk about, like, to talk about it, and I guess they just left it up to interpretation. But I felt like there was, and maybe this just wasn't the movie for it, but I guess I would have liked to have seen that have played a bigger role in that sense.
I think that me and you had the same issue of not realizing it was a version of Beauty and the Beast until watching the movie and being, decent portion in because I felt the same way. I thought you was really cool and how they scan your body and that's how they create your avatar. And I felt like you has a great story, but once I realized that it was Beauty and the Beast, my mind completely went away from you and was just
Yeah.
focused on Belle and the Beast.
Mhm.
So I completely see what you're saying, and
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Um, I think if we both went in going, hey, this is Beauty and the Beast, but a different, it's being told in a different way. We'd go, okay, and we probably wouldn't have focused on you so much.
Yeah.
Um, well, maybe that's just the machoism in us. We're just too manly to understand.
No, I think you're right.
No, but I do like
Yeah.
once it started and it went in and it scanned and this is what she came up as, and then you find out that she had this trauma,
Yeah.
she can't sing, but her care. So it was just all like, oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think for me, um, wh- I don't even know, but there was a point where the guy would, what was his name, Justin, when he finally did something, I was just like, wait a minute, is he Gaston? Is this? Wait a
Yeah.
minute, is this? He's Beast, and he's got the cloak, and yeah. So that's kind of when I was like, holy smokes, is this what's happening? And then I actually appreciated it more, and I really did enjoy this version of Beauty and the Beast.
No, I think you're right, and I don't think we again other individuals who knew nothing of this movie and just watched it, I don't think would. Maybe some would make the same assumption that Kevin did, but I think a lot of them wouldn't, and would fall into the same trap that we did. And so maybe it was intentional, where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna surprise you," where you're thinking it is more of a Ready Player One thing, but no, it's really, this fresh take on this fairy tale,
Hmm.
or it could have just been an oversight in the writing, or just faultiness in the narrative, than the way the narrative was told. But yeah, I think yeah, you're right that we had the same experience, where I think for me it was hard to get over being a little disappointed
Hmm.
that it didn't focus more on you, and kind of probably anticipating throughout the movie, and then seeing it go in another direction once these two brothers are brought in, and that story unfolds a little bit more, really goes into a whole nother direction. So
Yeah. There was I don't know. I feel like there was a moment where what did she say? Her friend, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm trying to like look and talk, and it's not working. So I guess Suzu's man in the chair, who was kind of handling everything. I forgot her name, but
oh
she had the funniest line for me. Um, she straight up said like, "Oh, you can ignore them, but I'm not as nice as you." And I died. I'm like, "Yo, ignoring him is the nicest you can be." That's hilarious.
Her
Sorry,
name was
I
Hiroka.
Haruka. Okay. Yeah, there's no like, I'm on IMDb and it's showing me like the actual actor and actresses, and I'm like, but I need the anime version because I didn't see you. I saw someone else. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was kind of we should have noticed that. I mean, when I typed in Belle, and literally another version of Beauty and the Beast came up that's called Belle popped up. I should have 100% go. Oh, okay. Um, so I think I don't know. It's just, but I don't know. I don't know. Kevin, please interject. I don't know.
he likes to
You,
wait for us to like invite him in
yeah,
with
I
the
know.
No,
camera.
no, like
Come on
no, because
in.
I'm actually fascinated because again, I didn't have your perspective of not knowing it.
But we
So
don't.
like,
But like you have your daughters that are all at an age where they can quickly realize that. I know Juan's got a daughter, but she ain't spotting stuff like that yet.
yeah, that's why like no, like I said, I just the whole time I was just fascinated with like, oh, this is how she becomes Belle. When's the Beast gonna come in? I'm like, oh, that's the Beast. And the girls had a lot of fun because they were spotting similarities to the Disney movies.
Yeah.
And even when they did the little like when he got the tuxedo, like she gave him the flower, like, oh, he's gonna get a suit. Yes, he got a suit. And then they did the whole like ballroom dancing sweeping thing. And the girls were just picking stuff out, and like they were having fun with it. And again, when Justin or whatever showed up, they were like,
Gaston.
they got he was Gaston. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's him. Like those girls were spot on. Like they
Yeah.
really, like I said, when I tell you they really enjoyed that movie, this movie, they really enjoyed this movie.
See, I think that was helpful for you. It was funny. I think Kristen started watching this about halfway through, and she picked up immediately. She's like, "Is this Beauty and the Beast?" I was like, "Yeah." Um, and then that scene with the whole the suit. When it happened, and he like told her to get out, and she walked away. She goes, "Oh, is that the West Wing?" I'm like, "What does that mean?" She's like, "In the movie, this happens in the West Wing," and I'm like, "I don't know." And so she was pointing out the Disney things too when he got the suit. She's like, "Oh, there it is." She kind of laughed. She's like, "Oh, that's ridiculous," but she's never watched anime, so she doesn't understand like the over the top things that they do. Um, but yeah, she
To
picked up on it like
to
immediately.
to me, one of the overtop things that made me laugh though was they've been looking for his castle for so long, and it was just outside the city in clouds.
It's a big old castle too.
Yeah,
Uh,
and when they remove the clouds, it's just sitting there. I'm like, what is that?
I've been here all along.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was fun. Sorry, but
no,
I
yeah,
was.
go for it.
It was fun once I did catch on, kind of spotting, the parallels. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah. Um, I will say the whoever sang for
Oh yeah,
Suzu and Belle, I mean, phenomenal.
yeah.
Um, I'm not a
That is
fan of singing in movies, but when she was singing, I just found myself, enjoying the moment.
Kylie McNeill. And dude, but it's so funny you say that because after this movie was finished, I thought to myself, two things Mark said he would never do: pick a musical and pick an animated movie, and a children's movie, which I consider this to be.
Yes,
Some
now that I know what it is,
Yeah,
100% it is
yeah,
a
no, I
kids
get you.
movie.
Some of the things that annoyed me were the character of the father. Really annoyed me because he just seemed extremely aloof and
No,
We
no.
mean
Wow,
Suzu's father,
really?
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Hmm.
wow. I went the complete opposite. I thought she was being a complete jerk to him. And
He
I mean,
was.
yeah, and
Mm.
she was like, reaching out. So he didn't want to, and this is I don't have any daughters again, so I'm speaking out of ignorance, but I'm assuming if she's telling me straight up, "Oh, yeah, I'm good." I'm not gonna pry and pressure because I don't feel like women in general like that. Um, so I actually enjoyed his character and him finally, or when she finally opened up and said, "Hey, this is what's going on," he was just like 100% like, "Hey, man, you do you. I believe in you. I actually enjoyed his character thoroughly. Um, Not that he was aloof, but he wasn't prying, and that's how I took it.
But it I mean, for me, and maybe it's because it was anime and, subtleties
Mhm.
and nuance are difficult,
Mhm.
because it's not a, a real human face where you can see, what's going on based off of a look,
Mhm.
or so if it just felt to me like this wasn't just someone like having a bad day. Like it felt like she was displaying signs of like there's something really serious like going on with you, even to the point, I mean, where we're living in a time where suicide has become so such a prominent thing, especially among young people. It was
Especially
like
in Japan and China.
Yeah.
right. It
I,
was like to see some of those signs, like for me, it was at the point where like you can't not pry. Like you have to
mm,
almost be like, hey, are you, like, okay, do you want to talk to someone? Let me make you an appointment. You've lost your mother, but like it felt like he needed to
uh,
intervene, at
but
Yeah.
least.
I think that the difference is like again, it's Japanese culture, and they're not necessarily like Western culture where they're in touch with their emotions. They're like, hey, do you need something? Like he lost his wife. Her mom got Finding Nemo'd in the beginning of the movie, and she just didn't. He didn't know how to raise a girl. At least that's the way I took it. Like he tried. He's like, hey, you want to eat? No. And she would rebuff him, and then he's like, okay. Like he didn't know how to connect to his own daughter,
Yeah.
which again also probably like led to her like just feeling alone. Because she didn't have that female to connect with.
But
That's
again,
how I took him. I did take it. He was trying to, but yeah,
well,
he didn't do what we would do. Say, hey, you need some counseling. You need someone to speak to.
Yeah.
and again, this is why I feel there's instances where it feels like a 12-year-old wrote it. To me, it felt like the main character wrote the story.
Yeah.
Because it felt like it was written by a 12-year-old girl who's very emotional and who thinks that a song that she sings is going to change the world. But no, I was like, okay, so show the dad maybe talking to a friend and being like, hey, yeah, I don't know how to connect with her, or something. Like, show
So,
something that gives you the opportunity to empathize with this character, and be again, because he did come off as aloof, in the sense that he again, just even if he didn't know what to do, even at the end, I mean, it's like, okay, you just let her go on a train by herself to to another city to
She was gone
intervene
already.
to
She was
intervene
gone.
yeah, or be like, all right, I'm gonna jump in the car and meet you there.
if anything, it was worse for those choir ladies to let that girl go to face an
Yeah.
abuser on
Yeah.
her own.
Right, exactly. So it was like, I mean, I don't know where to draw the line of,
Well,
like, it's an anime, it's a fantasy,
Well,
it's a fairy tale.
let's talk in movie terms. I mean, you're talking about a character that had the least amount of screen time, and you're like, "Yo, this guy was," So I feel like you were investing, maybe as a
uh,
father of a
Well,
daughter,
yeah.
but you were investing a lot in this guy who we saw maybe about 4 times, and three of them were just to ask her a question until and then the fourth time is where he met her at train station. Obviously, I'm making up these numbers, but
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
my point is it was a short amount of time that we got to see him, and I don't think he was a point in the movie until the end. So I think it's interesting
Uh,
that you're going hard in the
Well,
paint
well,
for the
I,
dad.
I,
I
I got.
can give you another example.
Well, I do have 3 points, by the way. But go ahead with your
Oh my
example.
goodness.
I have 3 points. Well,
How
one,
about you do
one.
two and give one a
Okay,
one, and then come back to you?
okay. One, I feel like Juan, after saying he is shorter, has twice advocated for making this movie longer and adding
No, it
scenes
doesn't have
into
to
it.
be long to add.
4-hour film.
It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be long to add a 30-second scene to understand the character better.
you want the history of the you. You want more with the dad. It's okay. Um, but number two, like I do think part of it is I didn't realize this. The girls actually pointed this part out to me. The whole movie, like most of the movie, is like a flashback from the beginning part when we see her riding on that whale with that rose thing, and then it flashes back and it's telling the whole story
Yeah.
of how she got to that point where she's riding on that whale. So it
Mhm.
could have been that it's being told from her vantage point, and that's why everyone it does feel like like Juan said, it's written from the point of view of the main character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then the last point is I also think most of everything else is window dressing around it being Beauty and the Beast. They're
Yeah.
like, all right, let's just add more story. But that's why I don't think the dad's fleshed out. The choir ladies were barely fleshed out. Like, hey, yeah, we knew your mom in that one picture, but they were just added there to give more scenes to just get into the Beauty and the Beast.
It's
Yeah.
funny, they weren't the most fleshed out, but they made the dumbest decision when they were like, "Yeah, we'll take you to the train. Oh, we can't fly. We can't drive. We'll take it." I was like, "What? How
Yeah.
are
No,
you
nobody.
sending I don't, I'm assuming she's a teenager. How are you
Uh,
sending a teenager across the country to a domestic
uh,
violence case? What's she gonna do?"
Yeah.
and nobody could get on the train with her. Can you imagine if that dude had punched her in the face in that scene?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Which
I
I
was like,
feel
good
like would
lord.
have happened in real life.
Yeah.
He would have
Yeah.
looked around, ain't nobody here. Bah, get out of here.
uh, that's what you get for meddling. Um, yeah, but again, another example is, as you mentioned, the Gaston
Yeah,
character.
yeah,
It was like comes into the scene. Well, like, what is the Beast doing wrong? And I get that in the Beauty and the Beast, the Beast is not doing anything wrong. It's just threatening to them because it's, a beast. But in the world of you, like, it didn't make sense. Everybody looks weird. What? Because he's like fighting people and winning. Like, I don't understand why they were so, you
Well,
know,
well, they said like he was
they,
fighting people, but he wouldn't stop, and he would mess up their code and everything.
yeah. I mean, they went over it briefly. He was just kind of, you know, thrown into the story by him interrupting the concert. Um, and they kind of briefly went over that he was, beating everybody, and yeah, I wasn't really in it. I didn't really care too much as to why he was being chased because at that I guess it didn't really matter to me at that point.
yeah.
I appreciate that you were so invested in this kids movie, man.
Oh, I mean, there were things that I liked about it, which I guess is what made me want to wish that. Yeah, the other thing too is like I just haven't watched a lot of anime movies,
Yeah,
unlike you guys, and so I know a lot of people. It's always been somewhat popular, and now even with young people today, like Ava's age, it's really popular again,
yeah.
and so I am curious about it. So I was kind of excited that you're bringing us into, giving me an opportunity to now, finally see an anime movie, and I guess um, these are just, and again, it's not a judgment on all anime movies. I know there are other ones that are really good that I want to see, but this one kind of being the entryway into it was like, yeah, it's beautiful, but it was just the story was just riddled with problems outside of, it was really cool that it was a fresh take on the Beauty and the Beast. I did like that it wasn't about Belle and the Beast falling in love,
Hmm.
you know, and yet at the same time they went in a super weird direction about intervening into this domestic violence reality of this father and his two sons.
That's better than what I thought when he was like, "Oh, I can't tell you," and then he like rushed away. And I think like 10 minutes later, I'm like, "Oh my god, don't tell me this is the dad." And he's like, I thought they were gonna go super weird with it. So
Like
yeah, I was happy they didn't.
I half thought was like, please don't let it be a girl.
I was hoping it was gonna be the dad, actually.
But that would have been
Like,
weird
like no,
though.
no, like her dad was gonna be.
Yes, I know that
Yes,
would have been weird.
that
Because
Well,
was Juan's favorite character.
she was
Hey kid,
well,
jest.
Yo,
I mean,
I will say at the end when he popped up at the train station, Kristen, who had just joined the movie towards the middle to end, um, she goes, she's like, did they purposely make the dad super hot? I was like, well, I mean, he just lost his wife, so I guess yeah, he's looking pretty good now.
okay. The other thing was like speaking about her mom who died in a river, drowned in a river. Trying
So such a weird.
girl. What was the threat to the little girl? She seemed like she was perfectly safe. And the mom's like rushing, like, if I don't go,
I
I'm gonna die. Like,
so my thought there was two ways it was going. They knew that that giant piece of land that she was standing on was eventually going to be overrun with water in the next couple of hours, or this child was a diabetic and needed her insulin shot, and that's why mom had to go over and get her.
it's and that's why all these questions of like, how does that make sense? How did this make sense? What was that about? Is why I'm saying like it felt like it was just written by a
Huh.
12-year-old, where it was like there isn't um the careful consideration for things. It was just like, all right, we need this bad guy, he needs to go after the beast. Great, let's throw
Mm,
that in there, you
yeah.
know, and like these elements that are just not fleshed out, and it doesn't require more runtime. It just requires better choices.
So Kevin's probably watched way more anime than me. But I will say it sounds like when it comes to anime and animation stuff like that, like you're not gonna get that much backstory on stuff like that. This is the story, and we're gonna focus on the story, and that's it. Like it's not a traditional movie where you have these characters who have their arcs, and they're like, oh yeah, and some movies you do, but in most animations, like this is our core four, our core three, and this is what we're focused on, you know, and that's kind of how it goes. So I think the fact that you don't have a lot of these types of movies under your belt was kind of I mean, you should have come in with a bit of a handicap. We should have told you, hey man, this is what you need to expect.
Hmm.
Because the things you're describing, I'm just like, nah, never once crossed my mind. And normally I'm like, yeah, I am thinking about stuff like that.
I will say, on Juan's credit, I did wonder why she was the only one who went, and she only had her one life jacket, and that was it. Everyone else was just standing on the shore,
No,
just
no,
watching her
no.
die.
Oh, 100%. No, that made zero sense at all. She's like, I got to do it. I'm like, but why? There's like 50 other people there. Why don't you form like a human line or something, holding hands? Like, why
Huh.
are you the only one going? Yeah, no, I 100% get that. But I also think that falls into the, just this type of movie. That really doesn't matter. Don't focus on that.
Well, and I mean, that being said, and as maybe poorly executed as that scene was, it did lead to the most poignant and just powerful line in the movie, which is like when she asks, like basically saying like, why did my mom think that girl was more important than me?
Hmm.
And like went to basically abandon me. Of course, she didn't know she was gonna die, but basically was like, okay, abandoning me to rescue some girl that she didn't know.
Hmm.
And I thought that was a really profound kind of question that you probably think a lot, but it's almost one of those things that you would be ashamed to voice out loud. you know
Yeah. I think maybe this was just a poor choice by the director because he wrote this apparently. So I just think if they would have kept it as like she's in a car accident, you know that
Mhm.
okay she lost her, but the fact that she was I don't know if because I and please tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they tied in why her mom just gave up so much for this random person when Suzu, I guess they're trying to say that she gave up her persona as Belle for this random person, but at the end of the day, she didn't lose her life. So it's kind
But
of.
but I think it
Go
was
ahead.
more how why she would jump on the train and go across the country to save these kids that she doesn't know either.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think that's what and I think at one point he said like you're so much like your mom. But I might have made that. I feel like he said that like in the way that she cares, and I think that's what it was supposed to show that her mom, that she had that part of her mom in her.
Yeah. No, you're probably right.
Uh,
I didn't pick up on that because I didn't feel like it was strong enough for me to tie the two together.
Oh,
Because
it definitely
rushing
was. I just thought
water.
about it now while you were talking about it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, because you think about rushing water and that, like you're looking at that, like, yo,
Uh,
there's a chance I can't survive that. You have people who are actively helping her to push her to go and see
uh,
these random kids that she just met. So it
uh,
didn't feel like there was as much invested, and maybe I guess there shouldn't have been because she's a child, and
uh.
I don't know. It's
But
just,
again, it's like facing a river, like we just said. Like she just went to
yeah,
face this abuser on her own.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and like, did she save them with a hug?
Well, she got cut. He
I
like
mean, like,
cut her face.
it,
There
He
it,
was
like
some
pro-
blood
it
ripped her
involved.
skin off.
like an adult would have probably called the cops on that guy. Like, they didn't really
Well,
show
no,
how.
they did. And remember, they said, "Oh, she has to wait, or you have to wait
48
48
hours.
hours." And that's when she
Mhm.
was like, "Oh no, I can't," which I absolutely 100% believe, like, because
But I think what Juan's saying, like, do we
abuse.
know if she saved him because they still live with their dad? I'm like,
Yeah,
did he
like
have just a change of heart?
right, like what exactly? Yeah, like that just turned him around.
Yeah, no, I think we're just supposed to assume that
Yeah.
they were split. Like the dad was no longer involved with the kids anymore.
I just thought had a change of heart because of the power of the hug.
Well,
No.
I mean, I think those are two good options. The other one that I was considering was like that nothing changed, but now they have solidarity. Like someone sees them, someone
But
gets.
they have a really good song to sing when they're getting beat.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay, I feel that. I get you.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I mean the music was good, and yeah, that voice. I looked it up. I was like, who the heck is
Who
is
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 it?
this?
Her first movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is her first role, so we should be seeing her again. Yeah, no, the audio was, I mean, just anytime she was singing, all the songs were
Ugh.
catchy, and just her voice was great. Um, I I did like the intro where she came in on the whales.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that it was her first. She entered into you like that. That seems a little dramatic because I don't think anyone else had that same, flashy entrance. But obviously, again, she's the main character, so uh, that's just a personal gripe.
Mm-hmm.
I did love that whale, though. That whale was fire with the speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end, I think there was like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
They're
Phoenix was like, "Yeah, it's their babies. It's babies."
gross.
So
Imagine
I'll
them coming out with them speakers on them already. Weird. Sorry, go ahead.
no. I was just gonna say I'll tell you one observation that I have about these. So we've done this movie. We did Drive My Car, which was a Japanese film. Um, um,
Sukiyaki.
Oh yeah, Sukiyaki, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was not Japanese, but
Influenced.
not very diverse. These
Mm.
movies, not a lot of black or Hispanic people in these movies. What are these Japanese people doing? Get with it, get woke.
Now
What's
they're
going
they're
on here?
they're not about that life. They're too busy worried about being unveiled in you.
Just saying out there, if you're gonna critique one, you got to critique them all. You know,
Well, yeah, all right. I was about to say so. Yeah, no, I can't argue that.
not gonna let them off the hook because it's a completely different country, different culture, different ethnic group. You know, go woke, baby.
Fair enough.
Go woke, go broke.
No, that's the opposite.
I
Oh, my
g-
bad.
well, that's all I really got. I mean,
Mm,
I do think that well, only because I did not know this, but I think the saving grace was that I realized it was a Beauty and the Beast story. Um, Ended up making it more enjoyable for me. The whole beginning, once I saw that you wasn't going to be that prominent, uh, I I started getting kind of bored. They were playing into the fact that she lost her mom, but she's being over dramatic and everything is woe is me, and she has these people around her. It was kind of eh, slow and uninteresting. But I guess for some reason, once the Beauty and the Beast popped up, my mind completely changed. So a part of me wants to. I didn't get a chance to watch this again, but a part of me does want to watch this again knowing that it's a Beauty and the Beast movie and seeing how I feel at the end of it, watching it beginning to end.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I almost, and I remember saying this about another film that we reviewed, and maybe it was that Sukiyaki or maybe another one, but it was like I almost wish they would have done a more resembling story to Beauty and the Beast, but told in anime, right?
Hmm.
And told in you, but make it Beauty and the Beast, and do it your way, and that would be really cool, instead of really doing a movie about trauma and about abuse and about grief, but just draping it with Beauty and the Beast. That's not as interesting to me as it would have been, had they done that. Like, hey, this is, like, again, Boz Lerman and his version of Romeo and Juliet. I'm gonna set it in modern times. We're gonna use guns. We're gonna do this. Like, that was really awesome. This could have been
It's
an
the same
opportunity
concept, yeah,
to
yeah.
just
That's
help.
that's true. Because I was thinking from, I mean, obviously I was hoping it wasn't the dad, but I was assuming it was Shinobu. Um, that was a beast because that's kind of how they were setting him up to be. He's
Mm.
very brooding and he didn't really care about anyone but Suzu, and he didn't really show that until he, touched her and it freaked everybody out. Um, yeah, the whole child abuse thing at the end just really was off the rails. But I mean, I think again this is a cultural thing, and I feel like when it comes to Japanese culture, you're used to that. And I don't know. This is pure ignorance. I have no idea if that's what it is. So please don't cancel me if I'm speaking incorrectly. But I do think there was a bit of a cultural play in what you're used to seeing out there, and that's why we got that in this movie.
Mm,
And just to speak on like what Juan said earlier, like I don't like. I think part of me liked the fact that it was different because it reminded me of what Spielberg did in what was that musical, West Side Story, where it
Hmm.
didn't change much at all. And I know I wish they would have done something different. So I do feel like I like the fact that it was a little bit different. But again, I'm coming from I went in thinking it was Beauty and the Beast in the first place. So
Well, and I've never seen West Side Story. That was my first time watching that, like
oh,
West Side Story. Period.
okay.
See, so like it, I don't really. If you're gonna do a rendition of it, just make it yours. Period. Just make it good. The
Mm.
problem with West Side Story for Spielberg, it wasn't good. And even if it's the same cookie cutter thing that you've seen, I've never seen it, and I didn't think it was good. you know. So for this, I did enjoy this, but outside of the cultural things for the makers of this movie, that wasn't what took me out of it. But I'm used to watching these types of movies. I'm used to the over the top, emotions. I'm used to all that stuff. Um, I think for Juan, he's not used to these types of movies, and so it was a bit jarring for him.
Yo, what I was expecting, and I really was, I'm not gonna lie, because I've seen this in Japanese, and other Japanese animated stuff. Like,
Dragon Ball Z.
no, I never watched that, but they
Oh,
have it in there, I'm sure. Like when the character cries
Yeah.
and the face changes into like this big mouth
the
with
super
like
deformed. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like I was expect like this caricature of the animated, character. So I was expecting that. But I've have a question for both of you,
Hmm.
something that is for our listeners. But let's say, if it's someone's listening that is like me, who maybe wants to try out an anime, but and hasn't watched very many, since you guys both have watched, some, give me your one recommendation, that you would give to someone to turn them on to anime.
Kevin, you go first. I mean, I got one already out the holster, unless you need some
Are we
time to
talking
think.
movies or series, or we just want
Oh,
to do
No,
movie?
he's
no,
not ready.
movie.
Okay, I'm gonna go first. Princess
Movie.
All right, go
Mononoke.
ahead.
Okay.
Write it
Uh,
down. Princess
I was,
Mononoke.
I was gonna say Princess Mononoke.
I
Sorry,
heard.
you shouldn't have asked extra questions. You should have just answered.
That's my fault. That's my bad. That's my
I
bad.
told you
I admit it.
I was right off the hit, baby. So Kevin, what do you what would you like to recommend now that you've had 30 seconds to
No,
revel
So,
in your choice of
so
not
are
but
you
picking?
are you
no,
more of a series guy than the movies?
me, yeah.
Yeah.
But, but
Yeah,
no,
but
like
no, no,
if
but the but for Kevin, I'm gonna say real quick is that the but is these series are like 250 episodes.
Yeah.
no, 26 episodes. Trigun's my favorite anime. It's 26
Trigun
episodes.
Trigun is not 26.
Okay, I own it on DVD and Blu-ray. I don't know
There's like
why you could think.
I thought there was 3 seasons.
No, it's 26 episodes.
So it's one
I
season,
thought you
26. Wow,
I thought
Yeah.
Akira was your favorite.
that's a
Well,
movie.
the movie I was gonna recommend was Akira, because if you're gonna start with anything, like that's like the Little Mermaid, like the renaissance of anime started with Akira, and the storytelling. A lot of storytelling you see here, where it's slow paced in some parts, and it's building up. Like they do that a lot in Akira, and I thought it was really great.
What about Ghost in the Shell? And anyone?
That's a series.
That was a movie. No.
Well, it's a
Well,
movie. It's a
it
live
was
action
a
movie.
yeah.
Oh, that was a series.
Well, I think they have a standalone Ghost in the Shell movie animated, but it plays into the series.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
if you're thinking about the ScarJo one, that doesn't count. It's not
All right.
bad, but it doesn't
Yeah.
count.
No, I was not thinking about that.
Hmm.
So Princess Mononoke and Akira.
It's
Ugh.
funny. So speaking of Akira, I saw Nope in theaters, and there's a scene where Jordan Peele says 100%. Yeah, that was inspired from Akira. I'm not gonna say what it is because I don't want to ruin it for Juan. But yeah, it was. Once you watch Akira, we'll talk about this.
Okay. All right. So, Mark, why don't you kick us off with our rating?
I would love to because this one has been quite the pickle for me to pinpoint. I am not a I'm not a point guy. I don't do the point whatever. Um, but if I was, I would give this like a 2.7 to 9. So if I'm gonna average it out, I I would have to give it a 3, but I don't see myself actively watching this again. Because I feel like I experienced it. I'm good. But I don't want to give it a 2 because I mean I would recommend this to people, especially people who have seen Beauty and the Beast, and I would say, hey, do you want a different take on that? Um,
Brace the point, man.
But people will be pissed off
no,
at you, bro, because they'll be like, "Yeah, I was expecting Beauty and the Beast, then I get, I got to relive my childhood trauma."
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. So at the end of the day, if I'm gonna be true to myself, I can't average up. I'm gonna have to average down. It is gonna be a 2 for me. Two little Jerry's. We do it at a 3. Um, at two little Jerry's for me, only because it did go off the rails at the end. It really took me out of it once you had grown adults driving this girl into a situation that she had no part of being in. If they would have kept it more streamlined and made Shinobu the Beast, I think we would have. I probably would have enjoyed the ending a bit more. It probably would have been more obvious, but they played into that when they were showing the real side and not the you side. So interesting choices from the director, but yeah, I'm gonna have to give it a 2 little Jerry's.
Yeah, I'll go. Again, not. I mean, I appreciated the artist and the beauty of the animation. Also enjoyed, just a different spin on Beauty and the Beast. Definitely creative, but and I also I'm not gonna knock people who did like this, especially like Kevin's daughters. I completely understand. but for me, I wouldn't watch this again. I really wouldn't recommend it. And it just had too many elements that did that took away from the story. And therefore, was not really as enjoyable an experience as I would have liked. So for me, it's just going to be a single little Jerry, just one.
All right, so my turn here. Okay, just three things I wanted to touch on real quick. That part at the end when everyone was surrounding her when she was gonna sing. I think Willow yelled out like they're gonna eat her, and it made me crack up. I'm like, no, baby, I don't think they're gonna eat her. They're just fans. Another thing that Phoenix
You
pointed out
never know in the world of you, bro.
when that whale came out of the lights and you saw the lights were all getting pushed to the side, I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And Phoenix literally said, you do realize those are people, right? They all turned to lights. I was like, what? And then when we saw it again, I was like, oh, those are people.
They are.
I did not realize that. I was like, oh, that's
beautiful.
She's so deadpan. And I was like, okay. And then I realized we didn't talk about like my favorite scene was when that girl
It
Ruka.
doesn't matter. We didn't talk about it. You didn't bring it up.
No, we didn't talk about it. It's my fault. My fault. I'm not blaming anyone. We didn't talk about it because I didn't bring it up.
We didn't introduce you to the conversation enough. My bad.
When Ruka was revealing her crush to that Kemishin or whatever, that was such a cute scene. Like when they were going back and forth, and then when they were trying to figure out who Belle was, and then Suzu just snuck out.
I died.
Dude.
She made the same reaction as him and started backing out. I died. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's such a great scene that was done. And now, for my rating, and again, I am slanted because I saw it with my daughters. I've seen it multiple times. I've actually enjoyed it every time they've played it. I catch myself watching it again. So I'm actually gonna give it a 3 because again, I've enjoyed it. Again, I've seen it multiple times, and it's actually gotten better every time I've watched it. So yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 3.
See, I'm gonna have to watch it again, knowing that it's a Beauty and the Beast movie, and I think I'll appreciate it more. And I love
the music every time.
I believe it. I mean, she's got a great voice. Now that we're bringing up scenes that we like, man, that war scene, that war montage where it was essentially Risk. When the girls were talking about her, I love that scene, bro. They were talking about how they're gonna go here. She go talking, and she was flipping them, going, "Oh yeah, I believe that." Man, I enjoyed that scene just because I love Risk, and that's what I felt like it was like.
Yeah, in our conversations, Kevin's the Joe Biden of the group. If it's not on that teleprompter, he ain't talking.
He's only focused on his notes. That makes sense. We gotta do a dry run with Kevin so he knows what we're gonna say.
Yeah.
So he can make his points to interject.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I've
been listening all day, baby.
I've made my points, and I enjoy listening to y'all. And I unlike some people, I don't interrupt mostly.
Listen, there's no interrupting, bro. If there's 1 second of silence, I'm jumping in. Like, I'm not gonna.
I'm just kidding. I don't care.
I'm not gonna wait 5 seconds when you.
I don't care. Call me the Joe Bidens. I don't care.
Repeat the quote.
I enjoy every moment of it.
Kevin, do you know where you are right now?
End of speech. Repeat the quote.
Period.
Remember to say, may I speak now? Oh.
Well, good stuff. So that was a 2 from Mark, a 3 from Kevin, and a 1 from me.
Ooh, 1,
that
2,
is
3.
Pretty well rounded.
First, right?
You make of that what you will, audience.
I think that's a first that we've had a 1, 2, 3. Another first for me. I've had all 3s, and now I've had a 1, 2, 3. I'm all over the place. I'm about to get. Have I done it all once?
You almost got all 0s, but you wanted to give 0 and 1 a 1.
I don't do zeros.
Not because it deserved it, just because you wanted to give it a 1.
No, because I don't do zeros. We rate on a scale of 1 to 3.
Yeah, he sticks very firmly to 1.
We're gonna have to reevaluate this scale one day.
Maybe season 2, right?
Yeah.
Season 2. to even more movies.
Until then,
Let's do some porno.
Oh,
sticking with our Japanese theme, I will say sayonara.
Konnichiwa. Love you.
a Viter's in.